Less than 50 people have ever climbed all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks. Most of them took decades. The last person who did it was a male ex-Navy SEAL who did it in 6 months, 6 days. But there is one woman who did it in just 3 months. The real question is how this 37-year-old Norwegian made it out alive in less than 100 days. Let's find out the answer in today's video. Before we dig deeper into the record-breaking milestone, let's get some much-needed details about the 14 Death Zone peaks. The 14 Death Zone peaks are the only mountains on Earth that rise above 8,000 meters, or 26,247 feet. At this elevation, atmospheric oxygen drops to less than 33% of what exists at sea level. This environment is known as the Death Zone, because the human body cannot acclimatize there. What's more shocking is that long exposure leads to physical deterioration, loss of consciousness, and even death. If you're wondering about the location, these peaks are all located in Asia, across the Himalayan and Karakoram mountain ranges, covering parts of Nepal, Pakistan, China, Tibet, and India. Climbing all 14 is one of the most challenging feats in mountaineering history. Here is the complete list of the 14 peaks in order of elevation. Number 1. Mount Everest, 8,848.86 meters, located on the Nepal-Tibet border. Number 2. K2, 8,611 meters, located in Pakistan's Karakoram range. Number 3. Kanchenjunga, 8,586 meters, located on the India-Nepal border. Number 4. Lhotse, 8,516 meters, just south of Everest. Number 5. Makalu, 8,485 meters. Number 6. Cho Oyu, 8,188 meters, located near Everest on the Nepal-Tibet border. Number 7. Dhaulagiri 1, 8,167 meters, located in western Nepal. Number 8. Manaslu, 8,163 meters, located in central Nepal. Number 9. Nanga Parbat, 8,125 meters, located in Pakistan. Number 10. Annapurna 1, 8,091 meters, located in central Nepal. Number 11. Gasherbrum 1, 8,080 meters, located in Pakistan's Karakoram. Number 12. Broad Peak, 8,051 meters. Number 13. Gasherbrum 2, 8,035 meters. Number 14. Shishapangma, 8,027 meters. Climbing all 14 is historically seen as a career-long achievement, and it isn't an easy feat. Most require 10 to 20 years of climbing, preparation, and recovery between summits. But Kristin Harila climbed all 14 peaks in 3 months, which would require summiting an 8,000-meter peak every 6 days on average. At that altitude, where a single mistake can lead to death, such speed is just unbelievable. The first person to ever complete the challenge was Reinhold Messner of Italy, who achieved the feat in 1986 without supplemental oxygen over 16 years. After Messner, Polish climber Jerzy Kukuczka completed the 14 peaks just 11 months later, in 1987, and set a time record. 7 years, 11 months, and 14 days. His achievement was legendary because he pioneered 10 new routes on these peaks and climbed most of them in winter or alpine style. Then, in 2013, Kim Chang-ho of South Korea broke Kukuczka's speed record, finishing all 14 without oxygen in 7 years, 10 months, and 6 days. But then came Nirmal Nims Purja, a former Gurkha and UK Special Forces operative. In 2019, he shocked the climbing world by summiting all 14 peaks in just 6 months and 6 days, using supplemental oxygen and a highly organized support network. His mission was documented in the Netflix film 14 Peaks, Nothing is Impossible. One of his inspirers was a woman from Norway, Kristin Harila. She was born on March 28, 1986, in Vadsø, a small Arctic town in northern Norway, just below the Finnish border. After retiring from skiing, Harila worked in interior design and sports management. But by 2019, her attention shifted. Watching Nims Purja changed her direction as she saw the boldness of his attempt. But she also noticed something else. No woman had ever done this, not even attempted to do so. She left her job and decided to take a different path. This is where the game changed. She launched her project titled She Moves Mountains, with the goal of climbing all 14 peaks in under 6 months. But something unexpected happened in her journey to excellence. Kristin Harila was all set to make her iconic record. But in her 2022 attempt, China denied her permits for Cho Oyu and Shishapangma. This denial stopped her just 2 mountains short of finishing. Instead of giving up, she spent the next year rebuilding her plan from the ground up. She secured new funding, permits, and the logistical team required to move fast, including Tenjin Lama Sherpa, a highly respected high-altitude climber who would accompany her on every summit in 2023. On April 26, 2023, they began with Shishapangma, and over the course of 92 days, they achieved the following summits: Cho Oyu, Makalu, Kanchenjunga, Everest, and Lhotse, Dhaulagiri, Annapurna 1, Manaslu, Nanga Parbat, Gasherbrum 2, Gasherbrum 1, Broad Peak, K2. At the summit of K2, just 92 days after their first ascent, they had done the impossible. But it wasn't just about speed. The logistical complexity behind the expedition was also there. They used helicopters to leap between base camps across Nepal, China, and Pakistan. At times, the weather window for a summit was as short as 6 hours, where a single misstep could cost the entire record. And yet, the biggest challenge was perhaps the back-to-back climbing itself. There were no rest days. Harila and Tenjin relied on supplemental oxygen at extreme altitudes to aid their endurance and oxygen-starved muscles. All right, let's break down what it actually took to climb all 14 of the world's highest mountains in just 92 days. First, Annapurna 1. This was one of the most dangerous climbs on the list because of the avalanches. Also, Annapurna has the highest fatality rate among the 14 peaks. The terrain is unstable, loaded with snow slabs that can slide at any moment. Kristin and Tenjin had to time their summit window perfectly, moving through avalanche zones at night when the snowpack was more stable. Then came the deadliest stop. Often called the Savage Mountain, K2 is widely considered the most dangerous 8,000er. I mean, it's steeper, colder, and deadlier than Everest. Also, the summit ridge is narrow, icy, and exposed to high winds. There are no fixed lines for large stretches. Despite being their final peak, when fatigue was at its highest, Kristin and Tenjin pushed through K2 with brilliance. They spent less than 24 hours on the mountain, summiting and descending fast before the weather turned. Next on the line were the Everest and Lhotse. You won't believe it, but Kristin's team managed to summit both in a single push, just 8 hours apart. It sounds efficient, but it's actually terrifying. After reaching Everest's summit, most climbers rest or descend immediately due to exhaustion and altitude. Instead, Harila's team turned toward Lhotse and began climbing again. That kind of back-to-back effort at nearly 9,000 meters, even with supplemental oxygen, is punishing on the brain, lungs, and legs. But then came the biggest logistical headaches of the entire project: Cho Oyu and Shishapangma. Located in Tibet, both required Chinese climbing permits, which had blocked Kristin's attempt in 2022. In 2023, after months of lobbying, she finally secured access. But it came just days before the weather window. They had to charter helicopters, rush acclimatization, and sprint up both mountains with virtually no margin for delay. But before we go to the next and most historic part of the video, If this story is blowing your mind even half as much as it did ours, smash that subscribe button like it's K2 at 2 a.m. in a snowstorm. What Kristin Harila achieved in 2023 was beyond impressive. It rewrote the history of what humans, especially women, can do if they dream of it. Look at the facts yourself. She's the first woman in history to summit all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks in under a year. Before her, no woman had even come close. She's the fastest human being ever, male or female, to do it. For decades, high-altitude mountaineering has been dominated by male names. Harila tore it down and rebuilt it with something just as powerful: strategy, precision, resilience, and relentless discipline. She showed that success at 8,000 meters is more about who can suffer smart, move fast, and plan flawlessly. She didn't do it alone. Sherpa partner Tenzin Lama Sherpa was crucial every step of the way, but she stood on that final summit as a symbol of what's next for the sport. Global outlets celebrated her as the first woman to summit all 14 8,000-meter peaks in under a year and the fastest human ever to do it. From CNN and the BBC to Al Jazeera and climbing magazines, her story became the headline. But she never claimed it was a solo mission. In almost every interview, Harila has credited her success to her Sherpa partner, Tenzin Lama Sherpa, who climbed all 14 peaks with her. In her original video, she herself said it clearly. But despite all the fame and recognition, she also faced many controversies. One of them was the use of supplemental oxygen. Yes, Harila used supplemental oxygen. And yes, some mountaineering purists criticized that. But she didn't hide it. Despite the debate, most of the climbing world agrees that her feat is a combination of speed, strategy, and survival that has never been seen before. As of early 2025, Harila is still living in Norway, but spends most of her time traveling between Europe and Nepal, training, organizing climbs, and working with local Sherpa teams to build fairer climbing ecosystems. So, what do you think? Should helicopter transport and oxygen use be considered fair game? And could someone ever beat her 92-day record? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know your take. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you don't miss the next extreme record.